Every 6 to 7 figure Shopify brand wants to hit 10 million, but most never make it. After breaking through this milestone with multiple brands, I've broken it down into a simple 5-step framework that works in 2025. Let's go ahead and get started. The foundation to getting to 10 million on Shopify all starts with having a great product. No amount of marketing is going to be able to cover for a bad product. Think of the marketing and all the bells and whistles as the fire that you put on top of whatever your base product is. And so without having that piece in place, nothing else really matters. So before anything else, I would really encourage you to focus on that product market fit. One of my favorite tools to use is Google Trends, because one of the most important things for you to do is figure out, are you in an expanding market or a contracting market? So let's look at Google Trends, for example. I'm looking at here the term for a fitness tracker, which we can see has hit a peak maybe back in 2015 and then has been on a decline since. Let's compare this with example with red light therapy. You may have heard of this if you're in the health and fitness space, but let's see the popularity of that. We can see a complete opposite graph of the number of searches skyrocketing. So as this grows in the sphere of people who might be health conscious or health inclined, I'm seeing a lot more people buying these products, studios opening for them, and a variety of markets just opening up towards them. So Google Trends is going to be a really good indicator for, am I in a market that's expanding or is this contracting? And there's a couple other market research tools that you can utilize. Statista is one of them for a platform where you can do for paid research. But frankly, I also get a ton of information directly from Amazon as well. And you can use Jungle Scout and other tools to help aggregate and synthesize that information and look at general sales trends and really look into reviews. Reviews are going to be a minefield for figuring out what are customers saying about this product, what are the problems, and what are the things that they currently really like. I also got to experience this firsthand with one of my earlier first businesses. With Rhino Boss, which we launched back in 2016, we had raised $60,000, just over that, for a product that we had intended for athletes. Essentially, you can think of a platform to work out, perform different compound movements off of. And we had this really geared towards athletes, to gyms, to the hardcore fitness types. And that reflected everything in the brand name, the marketing. What we realized after going through this is actually the people who were buying the product were people who were a little bit more intimidated by the gym. They weren't your buff fitness types. These were actually just your regular average Joe and someone who probably wanted a little bit more fitness in their life but was maybe too scared to go to the gym or didn't have enough time. And so we repositioned this into Body Boss. So a change in the name, but also the marketing to appear a little bit more softer, a little bit more friendly, a little bit more engaging. And we also improved the product a lot. Previously, it was just a metal base. Later, this became an injection molding. So lighter, more approachable, new brand name. This campaign did over 600K. So just some of those differences alone, nothing else 10x the overall market for that. What I really want to illustrate here is that investing in your product, developing that sets the foundation for everything else. And you just can't cover that with all the bells and whistles that come from the marketing. So really remember to focus on that foundation first and ensure that you have a product or service that's worth talking about and that people genuinely love. So now that we've talked about the foundation and how having a great product is the first step towards getting towards 10 million, the next thing I want to talk about is the growth engine. I personally learned this the hard way with the very first business I launched. I had spent tens of thousands of dollars on building a logo, a nice looking website, and I remember hitting publishing one day and just shaking my hands like, all right, here comes the money. And you know what happened? 0 sales. Another day, 0 sales. Another day, 0 sales. And I realized then the amount of marketing that goes into a product to also make it successful. Now, the way I think about marketing in this sense is top of funnel, middle of funnel, and then bottom funnel. Our big drivers at the top of funnel are predominantly going to be paid ads, SEO. Let's start with SEO. This is one of my favorite channels because people are showing you that they want your product. They just might not know who you are yet. So the main things I focus on here are how many keywords are we ranking for? And more specifically, keywords in the top 10 report. How many backlinks am I generating? And what is my domain rank? SEO, once you build up that position, it's the gift that just keeps on giving. And so my recommendation here is to make sure that whatever your ad budget is, have at least a 1-to-2 or a 1-to-1 ratio between SEO spend and your ad spend. And remember, these website visits that come from SEO are going to have much higher purchase intent. They're going to have better trust in you because it's an organic listing. And studies have shown that they have a conversion rate significantly up to 30 to 40% higher. The other piece I would focus on is your paid ad strategy. The principal channels that we look at for this are Meta, Google, and TikTok. And they serve different purposes. Usually if a product has a lot more search intent, someone would go to a search engine to try to find more information about the product, then generally Google might be a better channel. If it's more of a product that someone is discovering and there's a little bit more education and visual component to it, typically Meta and TikTok are going to be much better channels. My metrics to look at for the paid ads funnel is make sure you have about 10% of your budget going into the retargeting. And this is where you want to focus on the angles, the positioning, and the marketing concept. Where I see most brands fall short here is not coming up with enough unique marketing angles and ways of presenting that information to. You don't want to get stuck down the channel of doing the same thing over and over, tweaking some copy slightly, changing an image a little bit. That's not going to be sufficient enough. So we really put a lot of emphasis on that for your top of funnel. And just remember that you really need the new entrants into the system that are later going to augment and improve things like your email. All that's going to show from your landing page conversions as well, your direct traffic. All that's really going to get increased from the top of funnel ad exposure that you're doing. Once we start to get more into the middle of the funnel, what I like to focus on is your website experience and your email and SMS campaigns. It's absolutely imperative that you have dedicated landing pages for this traffic that you're sending, especially if you have a product that is unique and needs more education involved. Our favorite strategy here is to do a lot of listicles and editorial looking pages to mask that it's even a product that's being sold to someone. You want to come off as more informative and provide value versus sending them straight to a product page. So let's look at an example with one of the initial product ideas that we talked about at the beginning, which was red light therapy. And so what I would do in an example like this is not just send people directly to a product if they're top of funnel. What I might do instead is have a landing page for top 5 benefits for making your skin better and healthier. And I'd have a section on nutrition, a little paragraph on diet, and then, oh, here, maybe the third paragraph is about red light therapy and how it can be beneficial. And you see how you're not doing a hard direct sale to someone. Instead, you're being informative about a root issue someone might be trying to resolve, such as with skin issues, and then proposing your product as a potential solution. The other thing that I would be doing for your middle funnel is making sure that your product page is optimized, specifically on mobile. We love using sticky add to carts so that the main action is always front and center and easy for a user to hit add. You wouldn't be surprised by the amount of times that I've tested and done extensive A/B testing on just moving the add to cart button up on mobile has improved up to a 30-50% consistently in conversion rates. The other supporting side of the middle funnel traffic that I would be using is with email and SMS. So maybe you have a more expensive product and someone has come to your website, they've given you their email, but they haven't made a purchase yet. This is where I would have well-crafted email campaigns and SMS follow-up sequences. I would also have SMS campaigns to support that. We had one of our accounts start off with SMS last year, and at the beginning of the year was only doing about $100 a week. As they started to get much more numbers, we got it up to $10,000 by the end of the year. And then lastly, let's talk about the bottom of the funnel, re-engaging, really building up that LTV and having customers both come back and purchase again, but also refer you to their friends. Continue to provide them value over your email, be informative, be educational, engage in humor, which can also work great for that type of content. Engage in that conversation and keep it going so you can change it from a single purchase to repeat purchases and also turn them into a loyal brand advocate for your brand. So let's look at behind the scenes for an account of ours and just see what does this actually look like. And you can see this product in particular has a much higher price point and it also has a lot more higher search intent. So for us, we've been seeing Google and organic really build out the top of the funnel, driving the most revenue. And a lot of this direct traffic is actually going to be attributed and come in part from some of the other brand building initiatives that we're doing. So when I look at something like Meta, for example, which has significantly lower conversion rates than some of these other channels, it's still contributing a lot to our top of funnel and bringing people into our ecosystem for then later Klaviyo, direct traffic, Google search to all get incrementally lifted up from. But just pay attention to the different growth channels that you have. Figure out where you might be underutilized and overutilized. So really build out that funnel top to bottom, from the top being paid ads and SEO, middle being more CRO, your landing pages, and then bottom, email and SMS. And also I would look at your referral customer rate and your affiliate signups. Affiliate tools are also going to be a really great tool for empowering your customer bases to have an incentive to go out and share it with their friends. All right, now that we've talked about your foundation with having a compelling product and offer, and the second piece of having your growth engine, let's go to the third piece of the framework, which is your multiplier. What is your AOV and LTV? AOV being your average order value, LTV being your lifetime value of a customer. These numbers are so critical because the whole growth equation is compelled around these two numbers. So there's really 4 pieces when you're figuring out your profitability. It's the cost of advertising, aka your CPMs, your click-through rate, how engaging is your content, your conversion rate, once someone comes to your website, what % actually make a purchase, and all of that is multiplied against your AOV. And so anytime that you can increase your AOV or sequentially the lifetime value of a customer, you can justify much more aggressive ad spend and marketing on the top of the funnel because you're seeing that profitability on the back end. And so if your average order value is $100 and you're able to scale it up to $150 or $200, instantly the numbers you need to make it a profitable profitable equation completely change. Let's go through a specific example. So you can see here a basic calculator that I have going through those 4 numbers. Again, CPMs, your cost of advertising, click-through rate, conversion rate, and average order value. And I want to show you specifically with a brand that we've worked with to do CRO of what we're seeing. So you can see that we have an average order value of $105 for this product, which is a good starting point. What I've done is plug in some other common benchmark numbers. So CPM is looking at $20 for your CPMs, click-through rate of 2.5%, and conversion rate of 1.5%. Now, what I want to show you here is a common strategy that we'll do, which is grouping items together. So frequently bought together. Instead of just buying the single product, get some of the other things that go with it, and a simple add to cart button to do, ultimately increasing that order. So we've gone from 105 to now 155. And look at the ROAS performance that increase has occurred. So previously with just the baseline number, we're getting less than 2%. Maybe this isn't profitable for the brand, but by increasing that order, by grouping items together, then we see that instantly go up to 2.91%, which is now in the profitability line. And this is just on the first order value. So when you have an item like this, which can be a consumable, then you can imagine that the lifetime value also factoring into that equation, if you have 20%, 30% retention rate, is coming back to be even more profitable. So one of the things that we like to do is frequently bought together, try to increase that value by grouping items together. You'll also notice from the cart experience that will have incentives to get even more items. So I'm a really big fan of doing this in the shopping cart, having options to add on additional items, also having things for discounts being applied when you reach certain tiers. Shipping is a really great threshold for this. So figure out whatever is your baseline current AOV. What is the current AOV that you have? And then see if you can add on additional padding of that. Anywhere from 10 to 50% would be my target. Move up your AOV gradually. And again, you're going to see huge performances increases on this from just doing that alone. The other thing that I would really advocate for is pushing them towards a bigger sale to begin with. And I see this a lot with supplements, with consumables, anything that you have a product that people are consuming and are going to be using over and over, you want to push them into a subscription. Here's another example of where we've done that for a supplement brand that we work with, where we send them specifically straight to the subscription option. So instead of going to a one-time purchase, we're pushing them directly to the option that we want to do and a higher tier level. And so figure out how can you turn this into a subscription. MRR is always going to be better than a single order. And again, building out that AOV and lifetime value. And so you'll see that these are both on the page itself. These are doing cross sells, upsells. What I also am an advocate for is post-purchase sales. So there's really good programs like Rebuy that enable your store to do this. Of after making a purchase, by the way, we think you might also like this item, or act now within the next 10 minutes to get an insane discount offer value for this next purchase. This is going to be a huge driver for your overall profitability and some of the key tactics that we leverage for scaling up to 10 million. Next, let's talk about the fourth critical piece for getting to 10 million, and that's operational excellence. Usually what I see with brands trying to scale to that 10 million mark start to fall apart when they add more complexity into the system. And so one of the main things that I advocate for here is before even you delegate something, figure out what you can automate. Anytime you can streamline processes and workflows, and this can apply to logistics, managing your marketing, customer service, anytime you can automate reoccurring processes, you're going to be freeing up your time and bandwidth. Because usually what most brands do is try to throw more people at the problem before automating and figuring out what they can streamline first. This is absolutely a critical piece for you to be able to grow to that level. Let's start with the piece that's often very time consuming and has a lot of human touch point, which is customer service. The main thing that we look to use here is either Zendesk or Gorgeous and streamline what are those common facts that people are asking. How can we take a conversation and put it through that funnel first to resolve their questions before it even goes to a human? And so utilizing some of these tools can help better organize, classify, label the type of conversations that people are having, and then to build out those FAQs into your landing page itself or into your overall marketing materials. So you have to take some of that knowledge and learning and apply it back into your marketing funnel, but you can also streamline some of those support questions. And this is where AI is getting really smart and having more of an authentic conversation with people instead of having, no one likes to go straight to an operator. No one enjoys talking to a robot. So this is where you need to be able to experiment with having some of these support platforms that can have an authentic and engaging conversation, but at the same time not apply additional bandwidth onto your team. The other thing that I see all the time is manual reporting. There are so many tools that help you streamline this. Two of my favorite are make.com and Zapier, and also using data studios. If you have part of your team doing manual reporting and data aggregation, you need to figure out how to automate and streamline those reports. And so maybe you're doing things like exporting campaigns and getting more information, or maybe you are taking a customer basis and then applying certain labels and doing marketing campaigns on that. Figure out what pieces of that you can streamline and automate. Again, always for delegation, figure out what you can just automate completely. The other thing that I see really important is setting up the SOPs. And especially as we get more into this world of AI, as eventually everyone watching this video by the end of this year will have more AI agents on their team. The critical factor in that is going to be the knowledge base that you equip it with. And so this is where it's really critical for you to have a documented workflow and process of here's how we respond to these inquiries. Here's how we determine our inventory. Here's how we determine our supply chain and ordering schedule. All these pieces are going to be critical into that function. The other piece of that is going to be your inventory. This is most likely your biggest expense and where you have a lot of cash flow tied up into is that supply chain. Maybe you have long purchase cycles of where you need to stomach that cash flow for 60, 90 days. Having the forecasting for that is going to be critical to make sure that you're forecasting demand, especially if you have fluctuations based on seasonality or holiday schedules. Let's talk about the fifth and final piece for our framework to getting to 10 million. And that's one of the most important ones, which is your brand. Now, branding is incredibly important. It's one of the things that'll distinguish you in your positioning and your messaging and building your community. All these things are very key leverage points to building out that community and trust and that talking factor of people wanting to share and promote your products for you. Because anytime, as we said in the beginning with having a great product that sells itself, anytime you have a brand to sit on top of that captures the ethos that you want to convey to your customers, you're going to have the accelerator and the multiplier to get to that exit level if you do intend to sell your business someday. The main things that I advocate here for is really break down and understand who your customers are. What do they stand for? What do you as a company stand for? It sounds somewhat corporate and cheesy, but you really should do an exercise of going through and documenting and being explicit of what are your core values? What do you as an organization stand for? And how does that ethos reflect to the products you sell and ultimately to the customers? The other critical thing that I see here is building out the community. You don't want to be in a race of commodities. That's just going to be a race to the bottom of who has the lowest price point. The only way I've been able to charge higher prices with brands is by having exactly that, a brand. You need to have that leverage point of something that excites people to talk about. One of the best examples of seeing this is Gymshark. This is one of my favorite brands in the fitness space and something you maybe have heard of. One of the things Gymshark has done really well is having authentic conversations around their products to promote the brand versus just your traditional buy our product. Here's a landing page. Here's we sell shirts. We sell clothes. That is not engaging. That's not building a brand. And we can see that in the results itself. As you can see, the brand has exploded over time with interest growing. And this is a key factor for how they've been able to grow into $1 billion company. And so if you're not at that stage yet, the thing that I would look for is having search consoles set up and look to make sure that you're seeing the search terms that people are using to find you. If you're finding your brand in there, that's a good indication that you're starting to see brand discoverability. People are searching you out specifically by name. The other key piece that I would emphasize here is building up community. I think this is one of the most important aspects to having a moat around your business. Whenever you can have and foster a conversation of people who are purchasing your product, you build excitement. You build a lot more emotion to using your product or services where people want to go out and sell for you. It makes your job as a marketer 10 times easier when you have both regular people and influencers excited to talk about your product and tell others about how great this product and service is. So what I would really recommend is focus on your brand. Be very explicit about your brand values. Be very explicit in terms of how you craft your logo. Remember back to what I talked about doing a rebrand of initially being positioned more as for sports and heavy endurance and more of an athlete, and then realizing, hey, our customers are actually more of an intimidated person by the gym. So remember back to what I talked about at the beginning with the company that I went through where we did a rebranding. Initially, we were going for more of an athlete, an endurance type. And then we realized from talking to our customers that this is actually someone who's not really into fitness completely, but wants to be into that space. Or someone who's maybe a little bit more intimidated by the gym and looking for something that's more friendly and approachable instead of something that's a little bit more hardcore. So really figure out who your customer is. Make sure that your ethos and your core values and your overall logos and colors are reflected of that as well. And really invest into building out that brand. You're not going to see immediate immediate returns over time, but this will be your biggest multiplier and your moat for making sure that you get to 10 figures. So there you have it, our 5-step framework for how to grow your brand to 8 figures in 2025. So now you have 3 options at this point. You can ignore everything I said and stay stuck at 6 or 7 figures. You could try to implement it on your own and go through the trial and error of going through that process. Or number 3, you could click on the link below, apply and see if you're a fit, and we'll put together a custom growth plan for how to grow your business to 10 million plus in 2025. Hit like and subscribe to get more videos like this covering e-commerce tips in 2025.